Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind, these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are over the weekend heading into September 26th, week of trading, and wanted to look at a few potential swing trade opportunities. Now, I ran a scan over here on Thinkorswim, and I had to play with it a bit because there wasn't a lot coming up, and what I was looking for were stocks that are sort of in a triggering phase that might set off a squeeze. Now, don't misinterpret squeeze as like a short squeeze. This is just saying this stock is sort of coiling and could sort of provide a large move in one direction in the near future. So that's sort of what we mean by squeeze in this context. And so what I wanted to do is take a deeper look at the first five that come up on these lists. This is sorted by volume. So Tesla, Meta, OXY, ExxonMobil, and Paramount. So let's start with Tesla, and we're going to take a look on sort of two ways. We're going to look at the Thinkorswim setup that I have here, and if you want me to go over these scans or setups in the future, just let me know, and I'd be happy to kind of walk through what I have set up here and why. So taking a look here at Tesla and over here on the Webull platform. Now here we're going to take a look at sort of the trend, and then on Thinkorswim we're going to take a look at where it sits in the channel and what exactly that squeeze setup looks like. So here it's certainly caught under this downtrend. We'd probably be better served to put this in as a ray so that this continues down into the coming days. Now the question is it going to break this downtrend at open on Monday? And I guess I should say, depending on what futures look like overnight and in the pre-market, these setups could be completely bust by then. This is just a 30-minute time frame. I was looking for a 1, 2, and 4 hour setup, which is what I would prefer on a swing, but there just wasn't much coming up. So that's when I sort of settled on the 30 and thought, okay, well, maybe some of these will take shape into Monday, but it's a little bit of a short time frame from my perspective in order to get a swing setup working, but you never know. Now I'm going to zoom out here to the daily just for a minute to grab some key levels. You see Tesla is essentially stuck in this consolidation zone, which is what you would expect as it's coming up on that squeeze scanner. Now it's a large range, 265 up to 314, but we know how Tesla can move. So, that's certainly, it has the ability to make massive monster moves. Now, if I take about the mid-range there, so keeping in mind, roughly the mid-range plus trying to scoop up some previous support and resistance, we get this level here, which is about 289, 290. And so, it's pretty close to where it is now. Not super tight in, but those are the levels that I look for on the daily. Now there's another level here that's probably worth paying attention to the downside, and then certainly if it's breaking below the close on Friday. So those are the levels that I look at, this 280-ish level, 289 level, if it's able to get anything working to the upside. And if it can't on Monday, then it's likely to continue to pin itself underneath this downtrend and work itself through there. Just so you know what you're looking at, this is the VWAP, this like neon color, and this is the 180 MA, confirming that, on the 30-minute time frame, Tesla is certainly in a downtrend at the moment. Now, where it's situated in the channel, you see it's triggering here with these couple of dots, and it's triggering in the after hours. So that's, potentially a little bit questionable too, if that's really going to take shape, but we'll see. Now, what we see here is some of the selling pressure dying down as it's starting to trigger. That doesn't mean that it's going to break to the upside, as you see here. So it's just a one candle trigger, but it was dying down, triggering, and then it fired, and that firing pushed it significantly lower, right? It was triggering here around 287, and then it pushed it all the way down to 272, as you see there. So, this is just saying there's potential for a large move in one direction, but where that move goes, you have to watch the price action in front of you and determine. Now, the RSI is rising, as we see down here. It's spent quite a bit of time in oversold territory recently, but oversold in a downturn bearish market can certainly continue to turn down. So take that for what you will. And for some reason, these studies aren't showing up. Let me see if there's anything weird on here. I'm not exactly sure why, but they're not there. So I'll just try to sort that out after the video and figure out why those aren't showing up. But in any case, that's what I'd be looking for on Tesla. Now, popping over here to Meta, and similarly, it's a bit of array that we could put in here. If we say that we're lopping off, this wild move here, this huge buy and then sold right back off and came back into this downtrend resistance, that's where I'd place that. Again, caught under this 180 MA. Pull out to the daily again. There's this huge gap to the upside if it does want to go, which would kick off just shy of 250 and then would carry you all the way to about 288. So there's that that's looming above. But this similarly was caught in this range relatively recently and then broke clearly to the downside, right? It was caught in that range for a while. So if it is going to reverse at all and make any move up, I would certainly pay attention to that at those levels there. Now, zooming back to see last time we were in, the 140s, what that looked like. It's going to take some doing here. So we have this pick up here at 137 or so. Well, maybe if I catch the body, I would maybe take both of these levels as potentially interesting on Meta. Let's see if we scroll back, if we get anything juicy here. Yeah, I mean, those are probably solid enough for, seeing what's going to unfold on Monday. And, it's potentially coming down in this descending triangle, which means it could get caught in here on Monday and then push down through, or it could break. Again, I know this is like frustrating for people who just want to be spoon-fed things, but you just have to watch the price action and see what's happening in front of you and gauge it at the time. Now over here, if we pop in Meta, see if these levels still aren't coming up. It's frustrating. I'm not sure why. But in any case, we have a long trigger going here, which it was triggering throughout the previous day and into after hours, and then it fired, and then it started triggering before close. So this could be, a more interesting setup, and this is in the middle of this channel at the moment, and so it has a lot of potential to have a strong break down here and push it toward this, say, 138, 139, or push it up toward, say, 142, and maybe even come up to play a game here around 145. So those are the levels that I look at. It's mid-range in the RSI, so it's really sort of mid-range on everything, and it's kind of really primed nicely if it continues to trigger in the pre-market for a really big move on Monday. Direction, TBD, but the point here is you're catching a big, fast, substantial move, and you're not if you're playing options, you're not getting eaten by theta. Hopefully, you're catching the big move. And if you're just doing shares, why not catch a big move versus a slower, smaller move? So that's kind of the idea here. So that's where Meta's actually looking more interesting than Tesla to me at the moment. I didn't look at these ahead of time, which is why I'm, just putting these levels on here, and hopefully that sort of gives folks an idea of like, what I'm looking at, and they can make their own charting or blend this with their own charting, what have you. So here's the OXY downtrend. This is situated obviously below this 180 MA, so I would consider that in downtrend territory. I mean, this is obvious, right? Everyone's been talking about bear market, bear market, bear market. Now, a couple of interesting levels here, right around that 56 area, and then down here, this is where you'd be wondering, can it catch any of these? This has a lot of opportunity for catches versus Meta and Tesla. And then, there's a bunch of similar levels to the upside here before we would get a break over 77, which would be, highs in this territory. A bunch of interesting levels here, scooping up support and resistance. So those are the ones that I'm going to be looking at heading in to Monday. It's also on the daily here. It's coming mighty close to that 180, which if we take it back, we see it bounced off it here. It sort of wrestled with it here a bit and then made a move, reconfirmed, and then really took off. But it held it here, came through here and didn't really reconfirm until quite far in the future. But in any case, it's getting close to that on the daily, so that might be something interesting to watch as well. Heading over here to see where this is situated on Thinkorswim. So, again, started triggering after hours, which is not my preferred situation, but that could carry through into Monday. I just don't know. And then, RSI pretty mid-range at the moment. Also making a move just over the mid-range on this channel. So, you see the trend here in yellow. So potentially it's trying to, make a bit of a move on flipping the trend. Obviously it was in a downtrend here, spent a bunch of time outside the channel, and then really took it to the after hours to make a move back into the mid-range. I could have definitely been caught in an overly bullish position while this continued to sell off. That looks like a setup disaster for me. I'm wondering one thing here that I might try to switch. So yeah, swing. Let's just turn off the current close, see if that does anything to remedy these levels. No, we're still getting the NA up here. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to play around with that and see what's going on, but we won't worry about it at the moment. XOM is going to be very, very similar probably to OXY. We'll put array in here. Take a look at these. This is the sort of like really pessimistic downtrend. It could look something more like this. There's sort of like two levels there. In either case, it's a relatively decent distance away. This is actually pushing through, trying to wick off the 180. And, a bunch of these that we will have seen from Friday are leaving a pretty substantial gap on the daily from that big sell-off Thursday evening into Monday morning, into Friday morning. Doing this over the weekend is always like, what day is it? So, if it can't and it's coming down, these are potentially interesting levels in here. And then, I already grabbed them to the upside, so I won't worry about putting more there at the moment. But heading in here, question is going to be, it's going to be in this range here. Is it just going to range bound, between 84 and 87? Is it going to be able to make any, this would be a really significant push. It'd be a huge percentage change if it were to come challenge this downtrend. So, that definitely might be a little bit much to ask. It's on a slight uptick here. So the question would be, on the other hand, I guess, can it get anything going here? Sorry, I'm trying to get this to the penny on this uptrend, right? And could it get itself into an ascending triangle situation here, or flat top, which is actually my favorite setup, and it could blow the lid off to the top side, to the upside. We'll see. XOM, let's see if this is, yes, this was firing after hours as well. So, pretty similar situation. This is situated slightly below the midline. So the question here is, is that going to be able to push through like OXY did, or is that going to have a harder time? That'll be the question that I'll be looking at. Again, spent all day sort of underneath or wrestling with that bottom bound of the channel before it ever pushed back through to meet the mid-range in the after hours. So, pretty strong sell pressure, pretty strong bearish pressure. I mean, you see the volume change from these days to Friday, right? So, again, sort of speaking the obvious there, but just pointing it out in another way. Now, Paramount caught in quite a wicked downturn here after it was consolidating in this range above, say, 22. And this is quite a steep decline. This also sort of has a, that's the heftier one to try to overcome, and then there's this one, which maybe it's trying to push through. I mean, this would push it down on Monday and toward 18 if it's going to remain under this downtrend resistance. So that'll be the question there, in my opinion. We pull this out on the daily. We're going to have to scroll back a bit to find the last time we were in this $20 range. Let's see what was important then. This level, obviously, 2020. That's actually where it is in the after hours. Interesting. And, there's a bunch of tight-end levels. I would say that this, that's a huge range there. But I put something here around 17, and then to the upside, it was able to break through this level here, this 24.15, became pretty critical. And then, when I have something slightly below that, this was resistance, turned to support, helped it pump through that level there, say about 22.50, probably, in practical sort of psychological terms. So potential for it to push through here now, is it going to be able to break through this in the first few days of next week, or is it going to get caught in this descending triangle and push down through? That'll be the question. It could open already down here toward 1950 and just get trapped under the downtrend resistance for the entire day on Monday. Who knows? But again, this is sort of like a map, and you can see come live price action where it's going on the map. Now, mid-range here, just the beginnings of a trigger, a one candle trigger at the very end of after hours. You see it was triggering here on this day. That signaled a pretty solid move down. And again, don't just sort of automatically think that because the sell pressure is dying down and it's starting to trigger, that means it's going to flip trend to the upside. You see what happened here. A pretty solid number of trigger candles during the trading day, and with sell pressure dying down, and then it just bumped it right back down, right? And it spent quite a bit of time in oversold territory per the RSI. So, that's a trap that can certainly happen, but it was just caught in this trend. Now, it's getting into this yellow range, so could it be trying to reverse? Maybe, but could it just be coming up and running into that mid-range, which like we saw here, this midline in blue, and then pushing back off and selling off further? Certainly possible. So that's what I'm going to be looking at on Monday, seeing if there's any swing opportunities there. Again, it's a shorter time frame than I'd prefer to be looking at, but it was what I could get because there was so many crazy moves toward the end of the day on Friday after lengthy consolidation periods throughout the day. My guess is that a bunch had triggered and started to fire already because of that end of day Friday action. So in any case, good luck next week. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.